day when nearly 2,000 people were killed in one of the multiple airstrikes that targeted that place.
Well, let's unpack this now with Nuseirat, a lecturer of international affairs at George Washington University, and he's speaking to us from the U.S. Capitol. Thanks so much for your time. Now, the UN chief talks about the lack of accountability, but Israel has been breaking international law for years, and for years nothing has been done. Why?
Because unfortunately the UN is dependent on the 5 permanent members, and the US has historically always vetoed any resolution or even attempts at holding Israel accountable. And that's unfortunately, this is coming at the expense of the globe's faith in the international system altogether.
Is there any faith in the international system? Because since October 7th, we've seen these attacks, as we heard there from our reporters. It's not just on UNRWA workers, they're on aid workers in general, many who have been killed there. And yet still nothing is done. So when it comes to the international system, can we really say that it's working?
No, it's slowly getting eroded, and therefore it's not only the Palestinians that are invested in propping up the international system. I would argue the whole globe is interested, because if this global system keeps getting eroded, the entire globe, or all the countries in the world, will suffer the consequences.
If nothing is done to change that system, though, who are the countries who can actually make a difference? Does it come down to the UN Security Council and those 5 members as a whole?
It does, and we could see, and we've seen in the past, the permanent members, whether it's Russia, China, with Britain, come up with some sort of compromise or exchange, which would make the U.S. make the U.S. allow some sort of accountability with Israel. Probably Israel will find some scapegoat, a low-level officer. But of course, yeah, it would require the weight of the other permanent members.
You know, since October 7th, there is more of a global awareness about the suffering of Palestinians, which of course is not something that just happened from October 7th. This has been going on for decades, and the Palestinian cause has been very much in the spotlight now more than almost ever before. How much of that awareness by the international community has translated into tangible change, or is that change rather something that we still have to wait to see for quite a bit longer?
No, I would argue we already are seeing the change. We saw how in Britain, the Labour government announced that it's halting the licenses for 30 out of the 350 weapons licenses to Israel. In the US, the undecided movement, uncommitted, sorry, actually made a dent in the democratic establishment. So the democratic establishment, and Harris as well, is having to change her rhetoric. She's not changed enough, but it's clear that that's directly impacted by the movement, by the mobilization of the voters. And of course, what I want to note here is that this time the mobilization is bigger, of course, or more effective, because the amount of cruelty by the Israeli occupation is big, but also because so many people across the globe have access to information through social media and not through the gatekeepers of the main usual media. Many people have been able to ascertain what's actually happening on the ground, and seeing how grave it is, and also realizing how their own regular media is lying, or at least not conveying the whole truth.
And it will be interesting to see what happens at the UN General Assembly scheduled for later this month.
Yes.
Nuseirat, really good to get your take, speaking to us there from Washington, D.C. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.